So we'll go ahead and continue. So again, we are with CTE Teach. We'll tell you in a minute just what that means. And we're going to talk about retaining CTE teachers and what it means to support mentor structures. And so let me introduce ourselves. I get from a mouse. All right, so we'll have Melissa go ahead and introduce yourself first.
Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see you here. I'm Melissa Dix, and I'm the Director of Education Services at Fulton Redlands ROP, and also the program coordinator or administrator for CTE Teach up and down the state. 17 and a half years in CTE. A couple years ago, I was Mr. McClung, less height, more hair. But we love what we do. We love sharing it with you, and we hope that some of you will join us next year in CTE Teach.
And Melissa is handling our wonderful virtual environment today, juggling two different worlds. But my name is Dr. Grant Ermis. I am the director for CTE credentialing and the California Ag Teachers Induction Program out of the Yolo Solano Center for Teacher Credentialing in Davis. And I've been with this project for almost 3 years now, close to. So excited to share how we're expanding some mentoring programs to help retain some teachers today.
Awesome. And my name is Christopher McClung, and I help as the Southern California Region Coordinator for CTE Teach. And again, we'll tell you all of what that means. I am a CTE teacher, came out of the arts and media industry, love Dr. Pepper, as Melissa has covered my desk in Dr. Pepper many times. And then again, all my kids are at home watching, hoping that we do a great job. So we at least got 3 there that are excited. All right, so let's continue on. Some of the norms for those of you who are in person and in virtually with us. We ask that you mute yourself. As you guys heard, my wife was totally talking to my kids a couple minutes ago, so we ask you mute so we don't hear any of your kids barking or your dogs crying. And then we ask you to engage. If you are with us in person or online, we're gonna have some stuff. As you can see, we have things on the wall. We're gonna ask you to kind of really just have fun and engage with us. And then lastly, if you are online, please feel free to use chat. Melissa is here to answer your questions, and same with you guys. If you have questions, please feel free to shout them out and we will be happy to answer those for you. And then Grant.
So our general agenda for the day, we've got 5 major things. We're gonna talk about this global pin drop here in a second. Then get on to some discussions. We want to know what's happening out in the field currently with y'all and how it relates to CTE. And then we'll give you an intro into what CTE Teach is, what we've been doing over the past few years, and more so over the past 11, 12 years of the actual contract. And look into the future, give you some insight into what some potential participation might look like in this program in the 22-23 academic year. And then the most important part is going to be our swag drawing at the end. So if you got that QR code in the very beginning, make sure you enter that drawing and we'll draw some names.
And the last thing I want to throw in at the very end, we're going to tell you how we can pay you to be a part of the program. We're not asking for money. Everything we do is completely free, but at the very end, we're going to share with you how you can get paid next year to be the program that we have. All right, so those of you who are online and those of you who are able to connect to this presentation, if you click on that link there, we call this the global pin drop, because what we love to do is see where everybody is coming from and where's the furthest that you've traveled. Grant is handing out those pin drops. I'm gonna bring this tablet up. All right, so this is a feature that is on Pinterest. Those of you who, not Pinterest, my wife and I have been decorating a lot lately. So this is a feature that is on Padlet. And then so what it is you can place a pin anywhere you want. What you do is click on that plus sign there. And the question that we're posing is, where is the furthest that you have ever traveled? Some of you, maybe it's Sacramento. Some of you, maybe it's Southern California. For some of you, might be the other continents in the world. So in a minute, we'll start seeing some people populate this. Let me back out a little bit. So as you can see, it's thinking about it. There we go. We have 1 pin. Very cool. So this is a cool activity to even do with students. Just ask them where they've traveled, or even we've done this where we've asked people in the room before, like, where were you born? And we've had people all across the world. It's just really neat to see that. A lot of our GIS teachers will use this for stuff in their classes, and it's, again, a totally free tool for checking that out. Very cool. Good. Okay, so who are my Australia people? Are you guys in here? Awesome. When did you go?
Like junior year of high school.
Okay.
It was a while ago.
40 years ago.
That's a while ago.
And you came back alive, which is cool because I hear everything there can kill you. Bugs, you name it, kangaroos kick you, everything.
I noticed nobody's been to,
It came back different.
nobody's been to Russia. Just not. Too soon?
Not really.
Very cool. All right. All right. So now what we're going to do, before we get into talking about CTE Teach and what all that is I'm going to share a video with you. And I think it really captures what it means to be a teacher. It's just indescribable about how well it does at telling and sharing how we feel teaching.
Pinky. Hi, this is
Pain you gotta lean into, right?
And it'll lead you to-
But did you find a home?
They're still looking. All right, so we're handing it over to Grant and how that into.
Chris and I love going through some of those things. We have a barrage of videos that entertain us as teachers and can apply to the situation that's been teaching over the last few years. And really that one for us kind of connotes a challenge that arises in the moment. And you've got to learn how to deal with it. And so hopefully Pinky found a home, right? And for our teachers out there who might have experienced the same thing with students or parents or the community or administration or whatever else, we want to really understand that context right now. So in a moment, we're going to have you get up and find your way to one of the 4 posters in the room, if you are here in the room, okay? And for those of you online, we do have the Padlet that's there. And so we're going to spend about 10 minutes doing something in these spaces. And so when you get up, we're going to ask that you evenly distribute yourselves and just focus on answering the one question that's at that space, either in the Padlet or at that space here in the room. So the first question is, what are your challenges relative to available resources? What are your challenges relative to continual learning with students these days? What are your challenges with teacher effectiveness and your challenges with making sure that you're remaining industry current in your CTE pathways? We're gonna take, like I said, about 10 minutes to get this done once we find ourselves in our spaces. If you want to elect an individual to be a scribe as soon as you get to that space, that would probably be the most efficient use of time. And for those of us working on the Padlet, feel free to just knock it out of the park. When we hit about 8 minutes, we'll give a little bit of and then we're gonna pause where we're at and come back together as a group.
All right.
Can I
So
clarify?
go ahead and answer those questions on the boards.
Okay, go ahead and head to one of the corners of the room with the crew. So in the resources group, they said that they're generally challenged with items being in stock, time, recruitment avenues, staffing, no classrooms, empty classrooms, a disconnect between funding for resources implementation, reach, and space. Was there anything, if we have the Padlet up that on there? Sorry. So while he's pulling that up, I'm curious, for those of you that were considering this, is there anything else to add to the list that's top of mind that you think should be out there in the context for challenges with resources?
So Grant, I was going to share. So online, they also said that time was a challenge and the sub shortage isn't allowing teachers to attend PD like they normally would.
Was there anything else on?
So online, one of the participants said they're also new teacher to CTE. They're struggling with the fact that their class is an elective. Therefore, counselors just drop overflow students into the class and they don't necessarily want to be there. I've never experienced that. Have you guys ever had that happen to you? Yeah, for sure.
So the ball starts
Good answer.
rolling, right? And there's just more and more that keeps coming. And at the heart of our craft as CTE teachers is making sure that we're industry current and relevant. What challenges are we facing right now that are on the maintaining advisories with pathways? biggest industries who may not have a credentialed teacher. AME, for instance. Planning externships for teachers and funding the programs. That challenge or just resource?
That's
The resource, okay, all right, thank you. So other challenges with being industry current.
With COVID, actually being able to get into the industries to do the exhibitions.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that. I was talking with a partner program in one of our districts, and they said that they were actually able to get into more industries like Facebook and Google because now those internships for students and even externships for teachers were available virtually.
In the medical field, it's not.
Correct. Right? So it's kind of, it depends on the industry.
Yeah, manufacturing is.
So that one, I don't know if we're going to be able to answer today, but it's important for the context relative to PD and how we're coaching up our new teachers and so forth. Is there anything else online?
Somebody wrote that, again, the industry has changed so much because of the pandemic. It's hard to keep up with what has changed since the changes and all that.
Yeah. So as we look at what we're going to talk about in depth a little bit more today, I'm going to hand it over to Chris for this portion. Keep those things in mind. We know that system of education and the difficulties are out there, but we're here in a professional development setting to figure out how we can surmount them, how we can get over them, how we can reduce barriers. And maybe in some instances, it's just providing time for teachers to take a deep breath.
Right.
Right. So, I'm gonna turn it
So
over.
now we get to share what is CTE Teach. And basically what it is it was established back in 2009, and it was a way for brand new CTE teachers to have mentoring as new teachers. Part of my position is I work for the Colton Redlands Yucaipa ROP. We have teachers who are brand new to our district who are in a mentorship program. I have 3 mentors that work as teachers with me, and they actually mentor these teachers, and we provide training and professional development. And as I said, we pay people to be in the program. So we have, in a minute, we'll show you everybody who's in the program this year. And we actually will, in partnership with the state of California, we actually will pay for people to be mentors at their school districts, and then some. So kind of the reason why we went around and we did these was that here are the goals of CTE Teach. Is number 1 is to increase teacher retention. This was a goal back, 10 years ago, that we needed to increase the retention of teachers, because how many of you remember getting your keys, giving a nice wave, and then that was it? So we didn't have what am I supposed to do? I didn't even know I had a class outline like the first 2 weeks in the class. I was just teaching whatever I thought sounded good. And then one of my colleagues came in and was like, "Oh, Jerry, you have a class outline?" And I'm like, "I didn't know that. I just did what sounded good on the day." Also, to address the unique needs of CTE. How many of you have ever heard like, "Oh, you're a CTE teacher, you're a little bit different than what we've got going on campus with everything else?" We've all experienced that. Also have a fully qualified and fully satisfied teacher in every single classroom. What's great about our teachers is they're coming out of industry. They have the experience, they have the knowledge, they have the wisdom in the industry. Our job's to help them be great teachers in addition to that. And then, as I had mentioned before, it's modeled after our teacher induction program. And then lastly, designated to implement statewide. So our goal is to have this be a statewide initiative that we continue to do.
And I want to expand on that TIP program. It's why I really wanted to get involved in this program with CRIROP in the beginning. Y'all may be familiar, but for designated subject credentials, they're not required to have any mentoring component to clear their CTE credential. Mm-hmm. And we are of the mindset that needs to change.
Yeah.
And so we're here to help that.
That's right.
So the main cornerstones in there, obviously the retention piece, we really want to focus on localized structures that help retain novice or new CTE teachers, because that's a context that really matters for them. By and large, these are industry folks who don't necessarily move away for a job, but there's a teaching job in their area and they can do it effectively. So we want to make sure that we retain them, we don't burn them out, as some folks talked about back there. The other thing, just moving down to the bottom there, is greater teacher effectiveness. So making sure there are opportunities built into your local LEA structures to increase that in some fashion, include teachers, not just in induction networks, but in PD networks, such that they are considered a teacher. Just because they're a CTE teacher doesn't make them any less of a teacher. And then the teacher training, we want to focus on that piece. And we have folks in our program that teacher training looks like, hey, we're just going to get everybody together bi-weekly because we don't really have any structures in place. Up to our 15 high school districts who have an enhanced structure, and we're just making sure that the training is really effective in increasing student outcomes for students. So that's the fourth tenet there, the four main cornerstones of CTE Teach and what we expect out of partner programs. So I came into this program about 3 years ago, and it was an amazing model with some high quality professional development, some asynchronous modules prior to COVID that had some pretty good legs to them. And in the last couple of years, we've been able to see this grow. We've been able to see that CTE Teach serves over 150 sites across 50 different LEAs in the state of California. Over 500 mentors have participated in our program, impacting a bunch of new CTE teachers. Over 50,000 hours of PD. And you can see the numbers just go on. So that's just a little pat on the back for us. We feel like what we're doing is pretty good, and we'd like to include you all in some fashion in that. Keep that if you're curious.
So this is a list of, like I said, everybody who's kind of in the program this year. We deal with both Northern and Southern California. We do things that are virtual. We do things that are in person. And so we'll tell you how you can be on this list in just a minute here. And let me go through our systems. As I said at the beginning, we pay people to have mentor hours, meaning you turn in a log to us of what you've done for mentoring in your district to mentor your new teachers. We give you money to do that. We also will host webinars that those mentors will be a part of. Every month we get together, we talk about how the mentors are doing, what challenges are you guys facing. We give you some sort of training. We do virtual trainings as well. We do webinars. We have guest presentations all the time, in-person workshops, kind of what we're doing today. And then we're also at California Educators Together for a little bit. And then we have a ton of CTE Teach Media. And let me share with you some of that. And I'm actually giving you a chance to go explore it all. So if you went on to California Educators Together, which used to be CTE Online, and it will be here for a little bit longer, is these are modules that we have that you can go through completely free. You don't have to pay a penny for them. And there's different things on there about work-based learning. There's for planning instruction, new teacher orientations. We have things on there about middle school learners, adult education. And so again, this is completely free. All you have to do is go on their website, register for a login on their site, and you can access all these by just searching for CTE Teach. I continue on. Tons of media. If you go on our YouTube channel, just go to YouTube, type in CTE Teach. We have podcasts there where we've talked to people in the culinary industry, just talking about what that is all about. This is probably the most beneficial, is we have recorded our own teacher induction programs. And you can then be a fly on the wall and actually watch what those sessions are like. And in those videos, if you look in the description, they're all timestamped, but you can even click on the slides and just download the slides for free. And then there's content there for you to go over lesson planning and rubrics and all sorts of stuff like that. And then, like I said, we have a whole bunch of different workshops that we do. We do stuff about teaching like a pirate. We did a crazy Jumanji board game thing in the summer. And all sorts of that stuff. So also we have these webinars that you can sign up for. We have the next one coming up in March 15th. It's going to be some of the people who are in the program who are also presenting here. They're going to do it virtually as well. And then we have those coming up as far as tech tools or whatnot. So I went through that really quick because I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to just go explore those resources right now. I'll turn the music back on. If you want to see the modules, you have to have a California Educators login. But if you do, just type in CTE Teach and see our stuff there. You can get to the bit.ly and then just take a few minutes. We call it go fishing and just take a few minutes to go fish. And Grant and I are going to walk the room and answer any questions you guys might have.
We're gonna come back together at the end to chat about some of these resources a little bit further and what y'all found.
Yeah.
So
And like I said, completely free. You don't have to pay us a penny for it.
If you had a former CTE online account, that works on California Educators Together. So you don't have to sign up again, it'll connect to those.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. Get back to Queen. So while some of you are looking, some of you have some questions about the media stuff we have. And let me go down here. So like I was saying earlier, if you went to our induction program stuff and you just clicked on it, it gives a list of the induction program resources we have. And let's say you want to do something on lesson development with technology, we just click on it. If you go down to show more, you can see they're all time-stamped. Most of them have the slides in there as well that you copy into your own Google Drive and use for yourself.
all right. So we want to take some time for y'all to get together with some similar roles in other districts or LEAs, and shoot a hand up if you're a teacher. Currently a teacher, please. Thank you. We love you. And shoot a hand up if you're an administrator. Thank you. All right. Shoot a hand up if you're somewhere between.
Or other.
Okay. So those in between, you might be able to choose a little bit, but we want to give y'all some time to just chat. And so we're going to ask administrators, you're going to grab your stuff and you're going to come up here to the front corner of the room. Teachers, we're going to ask you all to come over here to this side of the room and give you a minute just to chat with your counterparts about maybe how some of these resources may be beneficial in your district, or even anything else that y'all are doing in your district that kind of supports it. So take a couple minutes, separate into your spaces, and let's have some conversations.
And for those of you who are online, we just took the speaker off in the room here. So if you guys wanted to chat about this as well, you guys can feel free to open up and chat, and we won't be able to hear it in here for a few minutes.
Love it.
Just how would a CTE mentor program and resources and all that kind of stuff be useful for you in your district?
Wendy McClung, the children to lead that.
I think the fact that we don't value teachers in career technical education is super evident in the sense that if we're demanding through the state that an administrator has to do an induction program, there's bits of support. So to me, it just sheds a light on the fact that 20 years since I've been a teacher in CTE, we still aren't valued. It just kind of irritates the snot out of me. Because all the work we all do, because I know for myself, all the work I do to try to support my area, it's still a struggle, and there needs to be some systematic change.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing that we've talked about back and forth a little bit. And I would push on the notion of value in that I think CTE teachers are just valued differently. And it varies so much by district. And the mentoring piece that we see, the opportunity, that's where it lies, right? We almost have an advantage that mentoring is requiring us to do, because now we can shape it how we'd like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas sometimes there was a report put out in 2014 about induction programs and the burden of going through just an induction program that changed a lot of the whole induction world. And so there's an opportunity there. We'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like, but capture a couple of quick thoughts. How about right over here?
So it's refreshing, to follow up on the lack of a mentorship program required. It's refreshing to see what some local LEAs are doing with their CTE teachers in particular, where they schedule a once a month meeting with their CTE coordinator just to talk about what's going on, POC or they put them in with the other teachers, essentially with any new teacher, and say, look, you're going through our induction program as well. And also kind of what you said, responding to that whole not making it a requirement. I think you mentioned that we have to balance it with the fact that somebody coming from the industry into teach straight in, they have a whole lot to do on their plate, and the generalized mentorship requirements seem like a hurdle. It's just another hoop to jump because it is not structured well enough to make it relevant. It's just like our kids, right? If it's not relevant to them, it's just another hoop to jump, and I don't care. And I think mentorship programs need to be more tailored to the specific needs of teachers. Where are you weak at? Oh, here. Well, let's just focus on that. Let's go.
You read the rest of our slide deck.
All right.
So I want to come back and be conscious of time. So hold those thoughts for just a moment. But is there anything on the line that's happening out there that was good in conversation?
Yeah, we had a lot of good conversations about just program growth and all that.
Cool.
Just the new teachers, there's a neat little conversation and chat with a new teacher and an administrator, it appears, where, kind of like, hearing that fresh perspective, but also the administrator and the struggles, like we want to help and the teacher that I want to help. So it's just kind of fun seeing that in the chat, and you can see some of that in there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Some good stuff coming. So.
And it just dawned on me, you were asking about the people online, not me personally, because I was like, I'm having a great time.
Appreciate all conversations.
Okay. So now we get to share just what we have for the future of CTE Teach. And this is where you guys who are already involved, you can get more involved. And so go to the next slide. I have to go back and forth.
Where to go?
Yeah, you have to slide over. Okay, so we're going to continue to support mentorship, CTE mentorship at the site level. We're going to grow to start supporting industries, but we're going to start supporting administrators. Or I should say we always have, but we're going to do some more in that realm. So let me start with just sharing with you the site mentor program. And how this works is around the end of the year, summertime, those of you who are on our interest list, we're going to send you an application if you want to be a site that is in the CTE Teach program. What that entails is you tell us who are your new CTE teachers, tell us who you think would be a good fit as a CTE mentor for those teachers. And then they would go through Grant and I, and we would put together a training with them. They would do a monthly webinar with us. They get some one-on-one time with us. We talk about mentoring, and we ask them to do like non-evaluative observations. Just how is that teacher doing? How are they growing? We will poll the teachers. We've done that this year. Just what are you struggling with? And it's all anonymous for the teachers. What struggles are you having? Where you need help? And at the end of each semester, they send us a log of what they've been doing, and then we run that through our business office, and we pay those mentor teachers. And that funding goes directly to the site, and then the site will then distribute those funds to the people who are working as mentor teachers. So, very cool. Anything I missed? Okay, cool. So now, this is what I'm super excited about. With the next slide, we're going to start supporting industry sector mentors. I would ask you to clap, but you don't know what that means. So what that means is we are going to start hiring mentors to be industry sector specific directly. So here's my dream scenario. We have a brand new teacher who goes into some sort of credentialing program. And while they're in that credentialing program, we as CTE Teach contact them and they say, oh, I'm a brand new auto teacher. We say, great. We have an auto person who's going to help you with teaching auto, getting involved in the CTSO, just really helping you with the content. And then we are hiring them specifically. So if you are a veteran teacher who wants to work for CTE Teach as a stipend and be a professional in your industry and help brand new industry teachers across the state, that is what we are going to do with that. Anything I'm missing on that?
Yeah, so the difference in the past, we've always had to go through some sort of LEA. And we can work with LEAs at the county level, at a district level. We've even done it at a site level. What we struggle with though is we get those sites, but sometimes we hear from teachers or we hear from people that are veterans that want to mentor others. Mm-hmm. So, and then we know because of those industry sector needs, right? Your manufacturing teacher, you may be the only manufacturing teacher within 50 miles, mm-hmm. or your mentor, quote unquote, is an English teacher on your side and things like that. So we've seen that gap. So we work with the Department of Ed and the contract we've had with them to devise a way where we can, yes, still pay the LEAs to then embed it in their program, because we want this to spread, right? We want to have you join our program for a couple of years and then go do your own thing and continue to just spread this throughout the state and then maybe elsewhere into the future. But we still have those little needs, right? It's one thing to teach a teacher how to do lesson planning and classroom management and things, but how do you do that in your industry sector? So this is where that new little iteration or that new little piece of the puzzle is coming together, where we're going to find those specific folks and help people as they're in their credentialing, as they're in the classrooms, and we'll be able to pay them directly as contract employees through our program.
And that was born out of, like Melissa said, there was teachers in rural areas who contacted us and said, there's not any other CTE teachers. I'm the only one. Can you help me? Now we can. We say, here's this industry person who can help you specifically. Sweet. And then lastly, administrators, we're going to start building online modules for you specifically. This will help answer questions as far as funding goes, what are pathways, all that kind of stuff. Because another thing we've encountered is we'll have a brand new administrator who was just given CTE. And we're like, hey, you're in charge of CTE now. And they say, isn't that thing where people get a headache in football? And we're, no, that's not it. So we will now help you with what that means and the funding, like I said, all that kind of stuff, and support in that realm as well. Anything on that I missed? Good. All right. So here's where it is. So if you want to sign up on our interest list to have CTE Teach as a support program at your site, you can click on this or scan this QR code or type that bit.ly in. If you're interested in being an industry-specific mentor for us, you can get on our interest list, which is on the one on the left, that QR code. And we'll give you just a couple of minutes to do that and kind of answer any questions you guys might have about what that means. All right, so for the sake of time, again, if you have the presentation, you can get all this information. We are on social media. Just look up CTE Teach California. If you want to find our YouTube channels, it's there. If you want to start our podcast, it's on Apple, Spotify, all that stuff. But now the most important part, let's give away some stuff. Ooh, yay. Okay, so thank you everyone who joined us online. So glad you guys were here. And hopefully if you have any questions, you can see our contact info is here. Please feel free to reach out to us, email us, find us on Twitter, whatever it may be. We would love to help you with inducting your new mentor teachers or your new CTE teachers and mentors and whatnot. We hope you guys had a good time, and we look forward to connecting with you again in the future. So you guys have a good day, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon. Take care.